my channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of Revolution's latest eyeshadow releases. They do kind of keep springing those on us. I feel like they were building up towards their foundation and it was this big anticipation, and all of a sudden, it was last week on the 7th of August, suddenly they just dropped this post about these two new palettes in the Forever Flawless range, and that was it, and they were just already out and we didn't know they were coming. So they announced two new palettes, the Forever Flawless Ice and Fire. The first thing I thought when I saw those, Game of Thrones. Immediately. I can't be the only one who thought that, and the first thing that went through my mind was, you've had 10 years to do this. Like, it almost made me feel like the boat had kind of sailed, but it's probably got nothing to do with Game of Thrones. I'm probably just reading too much into it. So the Forever Flawless Fire palette is a warm toned palette with reds and yellows, and the Ice palette is blues and turquoise and mint and silvers and a little bit of neutrals thrown in there as well. I did contemplate getting both of them. It really tempted me. Then I realised I'd be doing it more for collecting than anything else because they did look quite nice, but I only ended up going for the Ice palette, which is the one that we're going to talk about today. I always want to do blue looks, but I feel like it's always so hard to find good blue eyeshadows. It was just something I didn't really own and I really wanted to give it a go. I've tried two Revolution eyeshadow palettes in the past. The I Heart Mint Chocolate, which I'm giving to my sister. I didn't really like the quality. And is it the Unicorn's Heart palette? And pretty, but also a little bit meh. So the palette retails for £10. It comes in this plastic sleeve. First of all, you take it out and underneath you've got this really lovely sturdy tin. Again, the packaging, I know it's ice, I'm just thinking White Walkers, I'm immediately thinking Game of Thrones. Come on, like, it has to be an inspiration. I cannot be the only one thinking this. When you pop open the palette, and I mean it's good, like I don't feel like it's just gonna open up in my drawer or anything. You've got a plastic sheet on here just for protection, and then you've got a lovely big mirror, and inside you've got 18 shades. The names are written on the box. You're getting 1.1 gram of product in each eyeshadow, so I'd say that's pretty good value for money for £10. And if you look at it a bit closer, if you haven't already noticed this, it looks suspiciously similar to another palette, the Jeffre Star Blue Blood. They announced the palette and that's kind of what I saw everyone everywhere mentioning. I have, to be fair, also seen people mention that the Fire palette looks like, is it the Sunrise palette by Natasha Denona? I think it's her latest one, but people don't seem to be as excited as that. I can think of probably a couple of reasons for that. The first one to me is we've seen a lot of warm palettes. It's not really original. This is a lot more on trend at the moment. And number two, I feel like Revolution's audience probably aren't people who are lusting over Natasha Denona, just because Revolution is affordable and Jeffre Star is high-end prices but still accessible, so I feel like people who buy Revolution would look at Jeffre Star and consider buying it but maybe not buy it. They're going to be really interested in a dupe. I don't know how much of Revolution's audience actually considers getting Natasha Denona because it's just so expensive. So those are my thoughts on maybe why people weren't as excited about that one. The Ice palette does look a lot like Blue Blood. People have mentioned that the shade placement is different and the shades don't quite exactly match. Ashley's blog 23 on Instagram, I'll link her below. She did have an Instagram story swatching the shades against each other, all the ones that kind of had dupes for each other in them, and they're definitely not identical. They're pretty close. The conclusion that I kind of got from it is that this leans a bit more minty and Blue Blood is a bit more blue. But overall, they're still close enough that if you had been lusting after Jeffre Star and you just don't want to spend the money, this isn't a bad alternative. You're getting a similar colour palette. So I have already done a look with this palette, so this isn't a first impression. I do already have some thoughts on it. It's the look that I was wearing in my Revolution foundation review, so I'll have that linked up in the cards this side, I want to say. It'll be linked up in the cards for you if you want to check that out. Straight away there are a few shades calling my name, like Iceberg, Icicle and Glacier. I need to improve my swatch game. Well, Iceberg doesn't come out very nice on a swatch. I will take some proper ones and insert them anyway. Look at that. This is probably so far one of my favourite shades, Glacier. I haven't tried any of the more neutral shades yet, but the more I look at this palette, the more I'm like, I just want to use all the blues and all the turquoises, and that's probably what you're here for me to do. So let's jump into this eye look. I'm going to try and use as many of the shades as possible, and I'll give you some of my thoughts as we're going along. Alright guys, I really want to do something cool with liner. So I've primed my eyes with my P. Louise base in the shade 0.5, and I've just applied applied some shadow shields. I like to remove the curved part and then cut mine in half so it's just a bit less wasteful and it's going to give me a really nice clean line. I think I'm going to go more for minty shades today and I want to use as many as possible. I think the first shade I'm going to go for is Drench, and I'm going to start applying the shades in my crease, going from the inner corner to the outer corner. Just taking that on a Nancy tapered crease brush. It's not the most pigmented eyeshadow ever, but for £10, it's not bad. Especially a pastel colour like this one. I wasn't expecting that much out of it the first time I used it, but I think that's really nice. The next shade I'm going to use is Crystal, which is a little bit more blue, and I'm going to start packing that on next to it. I'm taking that up pretty high and blending them in together. Back into some of Drenched, I'll blend it out. Is that going patchy? I think it might be. I feel like it might be going patchy. They do leave a bit of fallout in the pans as you're going. I feel like that doesn't bother me too much though because there is some pigmentation there. If they were just dusty and had no pigmentation, I'd probably have a problem with it then. Next I'm going to go in with Freeze on my Zoeva 231. Oh, I really like this blue actually. That's a really lovely sky blue. As I mentioned, this isn't my first time trying the palette. I do just want to talk you through the first impressions that I had when I tried them out. People always say how matte blues are really hard to formulate. So when I picked up this palette for £10, I didn't think they were going to be any good, and I was really pleasantly surprised by them. Again, two of the shades that I've tried out here aren't the most pigmented just because they are pastel shades, but they're decent pastel shades for a tenner. I'm not going to complain about them. Really desperately need more brushes, and this Zoeva one is fantastic. Next up, I'm gonna go for Melt. So just on that Zoeva brush again, but I've wiped it clean. And again, just keep going. This one is back to being more turquoise. And I'm also just following the shape of my brow around. I just find as well that these do blend really easily. So not only are they nicely pigmented for the price, but they're not difficult to use. I feel like the colours at the front maybe do look a bit patchy, but I can't tell if it's just shadows or if it's actually the case. But I do think they're easy to work. Could do a bit more of Melt. This is quite a nice gradient and it's not taking me that much work. Next up, still on the same brush that I've just cleaned up, I'm going to take Break, and I haven't actually tried this one yet. This one does seem to need a bit more work to build up than say maybe Melt or Freeze, but it's still nice. And I'm going to bring Break all the way to the shadow shield. Did go a bit dusty at the top. And then just back into Melt, just blending them in together. I feel like Break definitely does need a bit more work. I do really like the shade names, things like Icicle, H2O, Titanic, Arctic, Freeze, Glacier. Obviously all very well chosen, all ice related. I mean, Titanic. You have Titanic and Iceberg. I hadn't even realised that, so that is making me laugh. I'm gonna take this crease brush. This is a really old one from Revlon. I'm gonna take Frostbite, and I'm gonna use that to blend out my edges and soften that up. I'm trying really hard to stay in frame, guys, I swear. It's like my resolution for this year. I feel like we're struggling a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to add some more of Break afterwards. I feel like it's faded. Or maybe I've just put less than I have on this side. I don't know. I feel like this is a struggle. I'm just gonna jump back into my Zoeva brush now. I'm gonna add some more Break. And I think some more Melt as well. some more freeze as well. I feel like now that I'm going back in with these to help blend it, it's gone a bit better. Okay, next up, I'm going to take that lovely blue shade Iceberg on this iconic crease brush, and I'm going to come in with that on my outer corner, and I'm just going to start bringing that into the crease. I applied this as my first colour yesterday, so it would have really been sticking onto the P. Louise base. It's definitely struggling more today. I'm really having to build it up. I feel like the eyeshadows are sitting better on my left eye than they are on my right eye right now. One of the things that I did notice as well with this shadow, it looked really lovely when I applied it yesterday. When I was doing my check-ins at the end of the day for the foundation, I actually noticed how patchy it was looking, and I'll insert some footage. I just had full-on gaps in it. I don't know if maybe this isn't something that works best with the P. Louise base. I hadn't done much during the day to warrant my eyeshadow going. Just adding some more of Break to blend it out, and then some more of Melt. Iceberg does remind me of Sugar Pills Velocity. I wasn't planning on doing a half cut crease because that's what I keep doing, but that's what I'm going to do today anyway, so I'm just going back in with my P. Louise base. No extra product. I'm just going to help blend it out. And same with the Zoeva brush. Just pat it down. Okay, it's time for the exciting part, the shimmers. Now, when I used these the other day, I tested out Glacier, which is the silver, Icicle, which is the turquoise, and Arctic. Glacier really impressed me. I thought Glacier was absolutely gorgeous when I used it on the lid. Arctic and Icicle were a little disappointing. Shimmers are easier to formulate, so usually the shimmers are better quality. But when I used this, I actually preferred the mattes to the shimmers. Okay, I'm gonna use some shimmers that I haven't used the other day. I'm gonna start off with the shade Immerse, and then I think I'm going to use Titanic. We'll see how it goes. So starting off with Immerse on the inside. This is just a flat e.l.f. brush. They definitely need packing on. I don't know, I kind of expected them to pack a bit more of a punch. It's like a pretty shade, it's got a bit of a rose gold shift to it. It just requires a lot of building up. I should have sprayed my brush. I'll try that on the other eye actually. Let me try Titanic in the center. Ooh, okay. Titanic is really, really nice. Don't know how well these are gonna blend in together. Yeah, they weren't a good idea together. Let's go back into Immerse to help it blend out. Ooh, they're blending in nicely. Titanic immediately just needs less work. I just hate the colour combo. That was a really bad idea. Oh, I'm gonna take it off like nothing ever happened. There we go. So yeah, nice colours. I really like Titanic in particular. I think that was absolutely gorgeous and very unique. I don't have anything else like it. They just didn't really work together. So what do I want instead? I'm gonna take the shade Cool instead. All I've used it for so far is to highlight my inner corner. Let's see how this one layers up. Again, just not very intense. So actually, now that we've taken everything off, everything I have seems to be an illuminating setting spray, which isn't really what I want. So I'm just gonna have to go in with Urban Decay setting spray. Let's see what that does. Oh, there we go, okay. So yeah, I think a lot of these shades do need spraying to give them a bit more intensity. Let's blend it out. So yeah, just not the most intense shimmers I've ever seen. Not the worst by any means. Maybe they'd work better as well using your finger. It's just not something I tend to do just because I wear acrylics. I can't really be stabbing my eye. If you don't mind, that's fine. Again, if it's a £10 palette, not as much of a problem if you're using your fingers. It's more if it's a really expensive one. I feel like I need to add more of Iceberg though. Yeah, I think Iceberg is better used at the beginning rather than trying to layer it on afterwards. Right, before I move on to anything else, I'm just going to take a little bit of Cool on this Morphe M558 and just highlight the brow bone with it. It is just the perfect pale girl brow highlight. I'm really like that. I am gonna move on from eyeshadow now, and I'm gonna do some liner. So I'm gonna take my Inglot Gel Eyeliner in 77 Black, and I'm just gonna add a drop of my Revolution Pro mixing liquid just because it has dried up a little. So I'm just gonna start by taking it on this fine paintbrush that I got from Amazon, and we're just gonna start by creating a normal wing. And then once I'm happy with the wing, I'm gonna start taking it the other way into the crease. Next up, I'm going to take my Super Beauty Hydra Liner in Space Panda, the white one, and I'm going to take that with the smallest brush from the brush set, and I'll have it linked down below in case I didn't already say that. And what I'm going to do here is a second line above the black. Alright guys, I'm just going to clean up and do my base, and then that way we'll come back to finish off this eye look. Alright guys, so I've got my base and my brows on. I will have all the products listed in the description box down below. But what I'm also going to try and do is hopefully edit this for IGTV. So if you want to see the full face tutorial, that should be over there, and my Instagram will be linked down below. I need to decide what we're doing on the lower lash line. I'm going to start by taking my L'Oreal Infallible Gel Crayon. This is the shade Got the Blue. That will give us a nice base. I'm going to take my Morphe M138, and then I'm going to come in, blend that under eye pencil out. And then just with the same brush, I'm going to go back into Iceberg and pack that on. And I'm just going to take the Zoeva brush, I've just cleaned it off, and just make sure that that is blended out. That looks really nice and intense, so that would probably be my recommendation if you wanted to use Iceberg, using it over a wet base rather than setting it. And then also you could use an eyeliner that's a similar colour underneath, and that's really helped that intensity. Just going to go in with a Real Techniques angled brush and just make sure with some concealer that this whole area is nice and neat and precise. I'm just going to quickly add some mascara. This is the Urban Decay Perversion Mascara. And then for my lashes, guys, I'm going to be really unoriginal, but I'm going to use my Kiss Midnight Lashes. They are just my absolute favourites. Honestly, they just look so good. As we've got loads of Revolution going on the face, I decided to pull this one out. This is the Ultra Cool Glow palette. I really wanted it when it came out, and I kind of just always forget that I have it, but I didn't just want to go for a kind of plain, boring old white highlighter for this. I feel like it needs something else. I think for my inner corner, I'm just going to go for this one over here. It's very light, but it does have a nice little blue tinge. It's quite cute. And then for my face highlight, let's try this one. Oh, very pretty. There we go. Gonna go back to the lightest shade here, just for my Cupid's bow and for the tip of my nose. I wanted to go for Revolution on the lips, but I realised that the colour I wanted to use is the one that I used in my other look with this palette, so that's just going to be too similar. So I'm going to use Coco Del Rio from MAC instead. And then just to finish it off, just in with the L'Oreal Shake and Glow. Alright guys, that's it for the finished look. I really like how it turned out. It's a shame it went horribly wrong in the middle, but I'm glad I managed to bring it back. So here are my final thoughts on the palette. I have now tried it twice. I've tried quite a few shades at this point, so I feel like I've got a good impression of it. It is nice. I love the colour scheme. I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of this because I'm forever thinking that I don't have enough blues, so I finally got that in my collection. The mattes are nice. The mattes are surprisingly nice, in fact, for the price and the fact that they're blues. They did blend in together fairly well. They're not that pigmented, but actually now that everything's melted in together, they're quite nice. The shimmers I think are a bit kind of hit and miss. As I said, I really like Glacier. Titanic really took me by surprise. I thought it was really beautiful and just really, really unique. But as for the other ones, they look nice in the pan, but they do take a little bit more work, some spraying, maybe using the fingers, and I would normally expect the shimmers to be the higher quality ones because they're normally the easier ones to make. There is definitely fallout in the palette. They were very powdery. They weren't actually that powdery on my face. The most fallout that I had was from Iceberg, and that was only when I removed the shadow shield. I think it's worth its price. £10 is more on the higher side for Revolution. It's still cheaper than their latest Revolution Pro palettes. I think they're about £12, but then they also have some that are £4, so it's leaning towards the more expensive side for Revolution, but I'm honestly not mad at that price. You're getting a decent amount of shadow. I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. The packaging as well, it's not the flimsy plastic packaging from the £4 palette. This is nice. It feels like it's going to be secure, and it does look great. It still looks like Game of Thrones, but it does look really nice. So yeah, I think that if you're after an affordable blue palette, again, maybe you wanted Blue Blood, you can't justify it, you can't afford it, this is a pretty decent alternative. It's not perfect, but it's only £10. Overall, so far, 2 uses. Pretty happy with it. So that's it for today's video, guys. As I said, I'm going to try and make sure I've got the whole tutorial for this look out on IGTV for you guys, so do make sure you follow me on Instagram to keep an eye on that. If you enjoyed the video, then do please give it a big thumbs up and leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of it. And of course, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on my next video, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye, guys.